Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm here with LA Infamous's Joe Barrett, and today we are talking about communication. Joe, I actually met you down the Colombian Paintball series, and it was basically impossible not to hear you, either talking on the field, talking to your team with inside of the pit. So I thought as soon as I had opportunity to talk to you, I would love to. So first of all, of course, thank you so much for spending the time to talk to me about this.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on here, Alex. And appreciate you noticing, I guess. A lot of people say that I kind of have a naturally booming voice that is great for paintball, but unfortunately not very good for libraries or, private team. You can kind of hear me everywhere. So sorry if it's ever rude that I'm talking over your conversations at the same restaurant. But yeah, that's naturally how it's going to be.
So the thing that I wanted to talk to you most about today, the specific topic of communication, but also, especially for me, because I'm new, why communication is super important with inside of teams. I feel like everybody covers the topic of yes, your team needs to talk, you need to be a good communicator, but how do you become a good communicator? Before we get into any of it, of course, I would love just to get a good rough idea of your backstory, how you started. First of all, how did you very first get started in paintball? What was the most noticeable first memory that you had of when you were playing paintball?
Yeah, I hate to say the same cliche that most of us have said, but it was a birthday party. I'd already shot a paintball gun a little bit in the woods or at like stop signs at the end of my friend's street. But then I got invited to this birthday party at an indoor field called Tsunami Paintball, which has long since been defunct and dead in Buffalo, New York. I want to say it shut down in 2003. So that's how long ago it was it was like 2000 or 2001 was the first time I went in there. Everybody has autocockers and mags. I have a black Max and it's hyperball pipes and slime all over the ground. But the loud noises, your bunkers getting thwacked with that plastic hyperball corrugated tubing, and seeing these older guys all around me with just these sweet, colorful like autocockers and electronic loaders. Right there, I was hooked. Like instantly, I went, okay, I think I'm kind of done with the war games in the woods. I want to become one of these guys. And on the way out, I grabbed a little 888 magazine or 888paintball.com magazine, because this is, there wasn't really like good internet yet. Like you had forums beginning, but you didn't have YouTube and all that. So like paintball magazines were still a big thing. And I opened up some of those magazines and would see, just all sorts of markers that I'd never seen before. I saw Titmans and spiders in Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart, but now I'm seeing these guns that are $1,000+ And then from there, I subscribed and got my first magazine, which was from PB2X. And I read those articles like the first day, and it was guys at the time like, Matty Marshall, and the legends of our sport now were playing back then. And all these stories around the pictures were, you know, not only about their event and like how they were doing, we beat the Tauntauns, blah, blah, but the second half of the article would always be about like their travels. And I'm like, wait, so if I get good at this silly game where I'm shooting at my buddies and I already enjoy it, I'm already better than most of my little buddies just shooting them with these gelatin balls. I could eventually get on teams that are going to bring me to like France and Asia and South America, and that was it. Like right then I was hooked, and that is my first like big memory was all that very first weekend from the birthday party.
Nice. Kind of going into the next question. I guess when you very first started and having that thought in your head of, oh, this is super cool. Maybe one day I can play pro. How did that happen for you? How long did it take for you to get to pro? What was the whole journey like from the lowest divisions up until that pro point?
Oh man. The story of like, there's the guys in the generation above me, a lot of them went like, playing amateur right to pro in their first year or two. But mine was a very long evolution, so it could fill hours if I was to tell you like the whole story. But basically from that time that I decided, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to like, play it every weekend, take every penny that I make and put it towards it, blah blah blah. It took me 12 years to go pro. It wasn't until 2012 that I finally went pro in the also now defunct league, the NPPL. And I was a pro 7-man player playing against, Dynasty, X Factor, Avalanche, all the like. Unfortunately, that league, uh, went bankrupt and fell apart. And I was only semi pro or D1 at the time in X ball. So then it took me another 4 or 5 full years until I went pro again in X ball with Tampa Bay Damage. So I had like kind of two different entrances into pro. Happy I didn't give up after the first one and chased it till I went like, I think what most people would consider was like the real pro where all the better teams were. But yeah, in the time it took to get there, it was blood, sweat, and
I
tears.
bet. I think it either shows how much you fucking love it or complete dedication, one or the mix of both of them.
Yeah, I'd say also like an unhealthy obsession too. It was a little bit more than dedication because anybody can say they were dedicated, but like, my parents weren't really supporting me in it. And I didn't grow up with like the silver spoon. So some of the things that I had to do in order to go pro and like the amount of teams I jumped through, like literally 90 something teams from regional and local to all the divisionals to a host of semi pro teams, like um, you're almost crazy in your head to think that you're going to be the one in whatever 2.5 million people playing in the country that's going to go. But everything in my head was like, nope, just keep jumping this opportunity, that one, like it's going to work. It's going to work. You're going to, you're going to make it. And yeah, it'd be hard for me to sum it all up, but it was, it was a lot of just time and never missing a weekend
That's
and missing a lot of birthday parties, weddings, funerals, holidays, blah blah blah. Like it was what I ate, slept, and breathed to get here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, side note on this because as soon as I've started everything, I've always been super sporty, and I look at any other sport in the world and how dedicated they are, and I look at what even today in the current field for anything lower than pro of how much they train once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks or whatever it might be. I feel like you have to have that weirdly type of obsession or dedication to it. Even for me, like my goal, I would love to turn pro within inside of a year. Even for me to say it out loud sounds a little crazy to me, but I know who I am, and I know the dedication I have / obsession to stuff, which means what can I do? Every single day I have to wake up and train, even if it's dry training in a fucking mirror in my bedroom. I feel like you have to push yourself outside of the once a week that you get to train with people.
True. No, that's well said. Life does not play favorites. Like nature has no bias. It's not like it's going to allow certain people to be exceptions to the rule. And they always talk about that 10,000 hour rule. And that is a rule for everything, to get to mastery level. So all these, like the younger generation, people ask me like, oh, how do I go pro? Like, I think I'm good, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but if you're only playing one day a weekend, then think about how many weekends that's going to be
I
until you
know.
get to
That's what I said. I said exactly to my friend. I said because that rule of 10,000 hours. I look at especially with business for everything that I've done with business. I'm like, that's gonna take me fucking years to do that. I'm like, the only thing I can do is wake up every single day and train on my own, as boring and as much as I might not even enjoy doing it. If that is 1 hour a day, 7 hours a week, etc., etc., etc. I think that's the only way to potentially get there.
the only way. I remember it became crystal clear to me when I was like kind of, grinding my gears in semi-pro because I took several seasons in D1 semi-pro area. It was like year after year of just cutting my teeth in there. And I was like, okay, do I think I have 10,000 hours yet? I don't think so. I was doing like the simple math of like actual field time. And then I was like, well, I guess I'm going to start playing not only every Saturday and Sunday, but I'm also going to drill every weekday I get a chance. And I'm also going to take up more tournaments. Like I'm going to play in as many different leagues as possible. So I'm getting more of that like actual tournament experience
Yeah.
hours, which are, critical and kind of overlooked. If you can play more leagues, you may as well. And then I started thinking like, if I was in another sport, like if I was trying to go pro in football, would I still be going out and doing blah blah?
No, of course not. And they're training every single fucking day, and they would never miss it.
Yep. And so then it becomes very black and white. It's like, okay, does this help me go pro? No, then I guess I'm not going to do it anymore. Will this over here help me go pro? Is this going to actually better my chances? Yeah. Then I guess I'll start adding it. And then I started, working out more and longer, running every day, doing recovery things, playing more, removing certain foods from my diet, watching
Mm-hmm.
more webcasts. Like I started doing all of that and going, okay, to go pro, you have to be professional. And so I need to treat this professional, whether it's paying me yet or not. And I think that's a big mindset difference is when kids are still divisional or semi pro. Yeah, you're not getting paid to do it, but you need to do it as if you were. And that is what's going to like bridge the gap and bring you into being a pro.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. On a question I have, which you briefly touched on. I mean, it highlights what I wanted to talk about. Different teams, going from different teams, which you mentioned, you've been through it, especially for such a long period of time. Naturally, you've probably played for so many different teams. Yours probably more than most. What do you feel like what are the noticeable differences of these different teams? Do you feel like some the reason you would move is because the team molds together, they communicate better, or is it because they have good individual players? Why would people go from different teams to different teams?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I like helping people through this process because young kids will get hung up trying to go pro with the team they're on. And sometimes that's just never going to happen. And it's not till you get a little further down your career that you can see that very easily from the outside. I tell a couple of the kids that I coach as like apprentices right now, I'm like, hey, reality is those couple kids around you, they're your best friends, stuff like that. But do they want it as much as you? Are they out here shooting cones with me right now? No, it's just you, right? So a lot of the reasons that I jumped teams wasn't necessarily for the better deal or for like, the D1 team that would now cover all my costs, where the other one I was still paying for flights or whatever. It was also like if I would give a team a chance, like, an event or in a season or whatever. And if it felt like I was busting my ass doing everything I could to try to win these events, to try to get us to pro, and a half or even a few of the guys on the team were not about it like that, it's like, well, it's what it is.
Yeah.
You can't change people. It's hard enough to change yourself. But if these guys don't prioritize at the same level as me, then we're just always going to be stuck in like that glass ceiling of like, okay, this is as far as the team's going to get. It's going to be good. Occasionally, we're going to luck out and have layouts that are fit for us. And because they're all friends, we're going to perform well and maybe go deep into Sunday, but we're never really going to be competing to win that pro spot or the series title when some of the guys only show up when it's mandatory. And
Yeah.
I'd go, all right, yeah, I'm going to this team because they're telling me that they, kind of align more with my values. They're saying they play every weekend, both days. And that's what I want. And I'd go there and see if that was what they were about and repeat through, it's been, I mean, 102 teams now. So.
That's epic. Is that actually the number? Right, that's epic. I like even for me thinking about what I would do in the future. Like I'm a big believer in energy, not only my own energy, but the people who are around me. If I'm the one who's there and I'm carrying all of the energy, it will suck mine away to the point that I might not even want to train the same way that I want to train anymore.
True. Some people call me out on the hippie stuff or whatever, but I'm an energy guy too. Like I read people's energy. I feel certain ways around certain people or certain environments. And I'm okay with being like the energy guy on a team, like whether it's like just boosting people or like, I'm never going to be like the get in your face, shove you guy, but I will like hype you up in the circle. I'm okay with all that. But if I'm the energy guy and some of the guys are showing up like hungover or late or whatever, like that's them. Their energy is like they don't really care. You know what I mean? Like they can say they love the game, But if they're not even respectful enough to show up with the same level of like respect and care for me and the other teammates, and they're just kind of showing that they're like, they're here, they're having fun, but they're like half-assing it, that's the energy that I try to stay away from, because that is not elite.
So the most important thing that I wanted to talk to you about, communication. Firstly, let's do a general overall. How important for winning, for being a good player, how important overall do you think communication is in the game of paintball?
I think it's the most important thing, because paintball is a team sport. You know, if paintball was just the one-on-one, then it doesn't mean anything. But because paintball is a team sport, you absolutely need great communication, because you communicating with your teammates is helping you guys problem solve and get through the point together. And it's helping keep your friends around you alive. Like seeing a guy make the snake and knowing that you're the only one on the zone, and for some reason not calling it, is about to get a few of your teammates killed because they just never knew they were in the snake, and now they're going to get their head shot off from somebody right next to them, you know, crawling down their side. So communication is like the absolute most important part of our team sport.
Okay, so what makes somebody a good communicator? Is it not necessarily about how loud they are or how frequent that they talk, or is it they're always constantly looking around and they understand how their team communicate? I don't know. What makes somebody a good communicator?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think not enough people ask how to be a good communicator. And I think there's a few different I guess you would say, factors that leading to be a really good communicator. First, a voice is helpful, because if you know the game but you just have like that quiet, little mousy voice, that's not very helpful. Like that's good if you're sharing the home bunker doubled up. You can tell the guy next to you like, "Hey, they're in Dorito 3 now. Give me some space." But if you're trying to yell to your guy that's 45, 50 feet away from you, that's not very helpful, right?
Look,
But this is actually the least important factor. Like you need to figure out how to make a loud voice, and I think there's ways to do that. Like, you know, some of my old friends, they would say that they would shout in their cars with the windows up when they were driving in traffic, and they would just get used to like getting this bigger, louder voice, and also not cracking their voice because they're just doing it all the time. It's me and my buddy Tim Brusselback. We always say, go to a concert or a music festival and talk to each other over the music and
brilliant.
crowd. You will get very good at talking loud and picking up on certain things over that kind of volume. But anyways, like the more important part of communication is knowing what to communicate, like not drowning the airwaves with just like stupid stuff, like repeating snake 30 times. Like if you got in the snake and all your teammates are repeating it, you don't have to just keep yelling snake. And every time he shoots at you, you don't have to just keep re-yelling snake too. Like, okay, you're in a gunfight, but nothing's changed. So why are you going to drown out other people that are
Mhm.
maybe trying to have that conversation on there of like, hey, can you go here? Can you put so and so in for me? So keeping it to really important information is critical, and field awareness leads a lot into like good communication, because obviously you have to like call out the bunkers that you know. You need to listen for the bunkers that your teammates are calling out, or kind of what's going on. But communication isn't just calling out bunkers and yelling. It's talking, you know, like if me and you are just yelling at each other right now, that's not really communicating. But if we're having a conversation like we are, this is communication. And on the field, if you can like take away that adrenaline and be composed enough to just have a team conversation out there and figure out, okay, we know back left, back right, home, snake, Dorito 1. Now what are we going to do with it? And if you have the field awareness to like figure out the situation and recognize, okay, from everything I just heard, they are short on the Dorito side. And I know my buddy is already in Dorito too. So that right there is going to tell me I need to communicate, whether it's in a conversation or in a code, that, hey, we're winning on that side. Somebody should be on a job to trap them so they don't fill wide. Somebody should be now supporting and following my Dorito guy to push him down that empty side of the field. And my snake guys should probably know, hey, relax over there. You don't really need to force moves or gunfights. we're going to win this point on the Dorito side.
Nice. That's a
And if,
really good, that's a really good one. I love that.
yeah, and that is what most teams miss. And I think that is, you know, why a quarterback is valuable on a team. I mean, like every team says like you got to have a great snake player, because if you don't, yeah, your team's going to struggle. But also, if all your role players just shoot their gun and yell like bunkers, but nobody ever like puts it together and truly communicates the situation and what has to happen, well, now at this point, you're all basically just hoping that you're waiting for mistakes and shooting people in gunfights. How do we go win the game?
Yeah, that's good because I mean, even if I think about it, and even whilst you're talking, I'm thinking about the things that I would learn from how I talk. Or once again, I know I'm still learning. I'm super harsh on myself, but if I think about what I communicate and the point of it, it is internally to say that I've done my job. I've communicated. What you've done with that information is up to you. But it's 100% right. It's like, have we had a conversation? Do I know that you've understood? Is there any benefit of me saying that? So that's super
Yeah.
cool. Even me listening to calls that other people have made, what am I doing with that? Well, I'm like, okay, I know there's somebody there, but are we snake? Okay, what can we do about it? No, I haven't seen that actually. So that's a really cool one.
Yeah, it's the what are we going to do with it now part. All this information's coming in. Cool. Well, what are we going to do with it? And a lot of times there's a guy out there, or a few guys, hopefully, if your team is good, that'll tell you what to do with it. Like, you know, easiest example is like if the snake wire is clear and you're in the snake, you normally want to hear one of your back guys who shot their snake runner off break say something like, you know, like the classic Dynasty code is charger, which means, hey, your wire is clear. There's no one in the snake or the corner in front of you. Crawl all the way down, come up and shoot a bunch of people. Like very simple, right? That charger tells you the situation, you listen to it and you go do it. But a lot of times people just shoot people and they say, kill one. And if they would have said, hey, kill one out of the snake, charger, 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 your snake guy goes, oh, yeah, there's nothing in front of me. I don't have to worry about getting shot down this wire. I should keep going. You know
Yes,
what I
that's
mean?
really good. I love that.
It's simple. It's very easy. It's just that people get a little bit lazy out there, or their adrenaline's pumping. They're locked in the gunfight. They're a little bit tunnel visioned, and they're forgetting that if they give that little bit of extra, you know, concise information, that it's going to do a whole lot more for how their team is playing.
Going into the next question, and I spoke to the guy who's currently coaching me, and he came up with a really cool idea. But I wanted to ask yours first. Let's say we turn up to practice on Sunday, and our main job is for us to work better as a team and try to figure out how to communicate. How do we communicate better? How do we practice communication?
Yeah. So here's an easy drill. Take 4 of the guys on the line and they're playing as they normally would, right? But your 5th guy, the one guy that, you know, your coach is always going, would you talk? Why are you never talking out there? You don't respond to your teams, blah, blah. You give him 20 balls in his hopper, and he now has to play that whole point more thinking about how to communicate and help his teammates. You know, he's not out there holding the lane. Even if he's the snake one, he's not necessarily going to be like confident to go all the way down with only 10, 20 balls. That 10, 20 balls is basically, you could do it with no gun, but I like to give them a little bit. So if he sees someone about to bunker his guy, he can at least put a few balls off and defend that guy. But it's what it's more going to do is make him put his gun down, look around at the whole situation and go, hey, this, and this, and then listen to this side and then repeat that side over to the pair over here. So he can do it from back center and he'll get better at like the field vision and kind of quarterbacking the whole thing. Or like when somebody's getting put in, he could tell the guy next to him and be like, hey, switch and shoot this way. And then when he goes, who's looking over so-and-so? You go, don't worry, Billy's watching over so-and-so. Like see the field from like the bird eye view and just like basically give everybody the confidence that like, don't worry, you're doing the right job. Don't worry, so-and-so is on that other job. All the zones are covered. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll tell you if I need you to get to so-and-so's corner, blah, 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 blah. Now, where you can then make it a little bit more difficult, but it's just as crucial is now you take, and you should do this with everybody, not just the guy who's struggling. Everybody should have to be the guy who basically has no gun. But now you put those guys in the front spots, front Dorito and front snake spot, because a lot of teams get to this point where they're like, sweet, our back 3 are fucking awesome. They talk great. They command the field, and our front guys are studs. But a lot of times, those front guys never really get involved with the communication. Like they might yell what they see when they miss a shot, but that front guy has to be a quarterback too, because sometimes he gets to a point where he stales out and he has two guns on him. And now, rather than gunfighting or forcing moves, it would be more valuable if he, from all the way up there in the shit, like in Dorito 3, looked across and went, okay, well, I can see all of my guys. I can tell that they're not wide on the snake side. So I guess I'll just pick up this job holding the cross gap from my Dorito to the snake side and start telling everybody, hey, they're short over there. I'm stuck over here. Can you guys get in the snake and start quarterbacking the action the other way?
Nice. Yeah, that's a really, really good one. That's super great, even just for me to practice. I'm still trying to figure out where the fuck my position is, but I know it's going to be forward somewhere. And
Yeah.
I do exactly that. And I might sit there and start shouting. I'm trying to become more aware of where people are, and especially my back guy. If I was playing Snake, my back guy, I know where he is at all times. But even as you're talking about it, the awareness of looking around, I'm like, have I ever looked over to Rio? It's like, no, I haven't actually. No, I haven't. It's 2v2 versus 1v1 versus 2v2 currently, and I'm not really talking to them over there. So that's super cool. I think something for me to practice.
I hope you do. And it's funny because you brought up another point here that I can help you with, and hopefully anybody listening, is you said you're going to play somewhere up front, somewhere forward, right? Well, unless you're the back center guy, you don't know that you're necessarily going to be a front guy because you have a pair typically, let's say most of the time, you have two going each way and then one in the middle. If you were going to the corner off a break and you're stuck because that back center is never off for you, you could grind your gears all game trying to figure out how to force the move and how to put him and maybe another guy in and go in the snake. Or you could look over to your insert guy next to you and go, hey, back center's on me. Can you go? And he might have the free move, like the underfill, where because is from so far away from home to your corner, he in that insert bunker, like the God bunker, can probably just slip right underneath the lane and become the front guy. And now you're the back guy. The roles have switched, but it's like paintball is very opportunistic. It's a give and take. And if they're taking away this move, they're probably giving you this other move over here because there's only 5 of them. So they can shoot a few different zones, but there's no way they can stop all of you on all of your different moves. They can stop you from making one particular move, but it's just chess, right? So you just figure out, well, if I just drew the pressure all the way out to this wire, they're looking for this rook to slide all the way down to their end, right? Well, that means my bishop has this angular move from the inside.
Nice. That's really good. And I never thought about it like that. That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, I'd say most players like D3 or less never see the game that way. Like they're looking at the physical, the gunfight, the how can I do this better? How can I just need to be better? I just need to snap shoot that guy in. But to me, I'm just seeing the chess moves out there. I'm watching the game from bird's eye view, even while I'm playing. You know what I mean? Once my shot is on and I'm like, cool, I'm connecting on that guy's edge. I have gun dominance. Now I'm thinking about our positions on the board and their positions and going, do I have the move here? No. Well, I could probably yell to Jonah next to me, hey, Jonah, it's going to be you. And now he can pass me.
Nice. Yeah, and I think especially as you start to learn each other a little bit more, you could say one single fucking thing and they're gone. I love that. And with confidence as well. I love that.
Yep,
Super cool.
absolutely. What we just talked about is how to be better with your team communication, right? But each individual needs to bring more to the table to that, right? And so the best way that you can become a better communicator is to first learn how to talk better in your day-to-day life. Like just learn how to have a more connecting conversation with people where you're not talking at them and you're like openly and actively listening, because that is going to definitely transcend to the field if you're good at like, just having a conversation. It's just a conversation on the field. And then the way that you can help yourself with that is by playing with more players and even players from other areas that you don't know. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I I think every pro player is pretty damn good at everything. I think I have a lot of good skill sets, but I think talking has become one of like my, most sought after skill sets. And it's made me like a quarterback on so many teams now, even when I'd rather go attack, just because I've got to play with so many teams.
Yeah.
Like 100 teams is 1,000+ players. And you have to learn how to talk to each of them, because so and so might go instantly on a code where another guy might need the little bit more confidence. He might need a little more like, don't worry, I got you. I'm still over you. Keep going, keep going. I'm still over you. The other guy, all you do is say charger and he goes, right?
Yes.
And what really also helped me with this was like playing leagues in other countries, like where I met you. The the thing you have to do inside yourself to force yourself to talk with a team of people that don't even speak your language makes you like so ridiculously focused and conscious of conversation.
Uh-huh.
Whereas with your team, where you can almost see a guy, get off his knee and you're like, I already know what he's going to do. I'll just follow him, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of like almost like playing subconsciously or going through the motions. But when I play with my teams in Mexico, or when I've played with Ukraine's team or teams in Asia, I've already had to have like 2 straight days of conversation with them about like, give me your codes. And then in my room, I have to memorize, okay, it's no longer burrito one, it's taco uno, taco dos, and it's no longer Cali as the can over here. It's now Coca.
Uh-huh.
And then, Rojo for red, and all these different things where it's like, now going through my head, I have to like pre-rehearse the codes, the conversations, the communication on the field, or else it's going to be really bad. And I'm not going to win this tournament that they just brought me there for.
Yeah.
So if you could ever get a chance to play with teams from other countries, or at the very least, other states and regions where like they have different accents, they have different things that it's going to make you focus more on having to like try hard to pick that thing up. That is going to make you an excellent communicator.
Nice, that's a solid point. That's really cool. And even me thinking about it, I'm thinking, what that, what that? I'm like, what the fuck? I would love to talk to people in English. That would be so good. That would be so good. Quick little final questions I would love to ask you. What are you looking forward to most in 2024, especially playing for Infamous? What have you got? What have you got on your cards? What's on your mind?
Oh man, I just had a World Cup where we played our best paintball all season in the prelims, and then lost early to Impact on Sunday and didn't make it, nearly as far as I would have expected us to. And that leaves a lot of built up, you know, unfinished business type feeling inside me. And I'm already, still working out hard.
I see
I
you.
still have one more event to go to for Mexico's finals. So like the grind does not stop for me, and I'm just going to keep rolling this same level of intensity in next season. And my goals with the team are to like, it's a team. It's not about me or any one of us leading it, but like I'm going to do my part in every form and fashion that I can to try to bring more to the team on my own individual level. And I'm gonna communicate more, not just on the field, but I'm gonna leave less things unsaid in meetings or whatever. Even those, 11 at night meetings when everyone's getting tired, you've been hashing it in circle for 2 hours. If there's anything that I feel like, hey, if I just talk this situation out with the guys now, that's one less thing we have to assume tomorrow. I'm just gonna be that much more like proactive
Nice.
in talking with the team, because you have to take others as your own responsibility. Like Mike Hinman used to say, that is like, hey, you players are always holding yourselves accountable. But if you can realize that other people's mistakes are your fault too, you see a guy get killed. Yeah, maybe he picked a bad gunfight. But if I can hold myself accountable on, that's my fault too. I should have told that guy, hey, stop gunfighting. I got you. Hey, let him go. All those extra times. Like there's a million extra times when I didn't think I was really being lazy this season, but there was more that I could have said.
Mhm.
And if I and my own teammates can approach next season like that, that's how Dynasty plays. That's how the guys who play with true trust and like exactly listen to each other, that's how they play and they win as often as they do. Damage too. The tournaments they won, when you listen to them, it was elite level communication where they were having like, tiny little things. They were just letting each other know, like, hey, give me a second. Let me reload first. And then, okay, I'm back over you. yeah, make that move. Like that's all I'm focusing on now is just like trying to, you know, do more than I was already doing for this team. And my goals are to make sure that we make all 5 Sundays because we made 4 out of 5 this year. To make sure that at least 2 or 3 of those we go deeper into Sunday, like we should be at this point making semifinals. And then the next goal beyond that would be okay, you've made semifinals, now make a finals because we have a third place, but we have not got past that. And in the past several years, I've not got to that last round and got to see those last 2 names on the finals board. And it's like sacred ground when you get there, and it's cutthroat to get there. But I want to be there so bad, so I'm gonna just be a lot more conscious and just hold myself more responsible for everything that's happening around me. I love talking to people. They can hit me up for questions or advice or whatever all the time. So my Instagram is Joe Barrett 50. That's what I'm always on. I don't really check Facebook. It just kind of automatically posts to Facebook. So yeah,
Nice. Well, thank you so much. I super appreciate it. And I will 100% on Sunday be taking everything that you said and taking it to myself and hopefully my team as well. So thank you so much.
awesome. Yeah, you're very welcome. And let me know how it goes. Let me know if certain things worked more smoothly because you started like putting these things into practice. I'm always down to chat paintball.
Super dope. Thank you.